Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the 2022 Senate election in the state of Pennsylvania and some new shock polls we just got as of a few hours ago, and talk about the state of this race as of right now. So, there's a lot to unpack here, let's just get right into it. We had a Republican poll. This is no Democratic poll, it's not even a nonpartisan poll. This is a Republican firm called Public Opinion Strategies for Pittsburgh Works Together, showing massive leads for both Josh Shapiro and John Fetterman. John Fetterman was up 18% over Dr. Oz. Josh Shapiro beating Republican Doug Mastriano by 15%. As you can see, the tallies here on this screenshot show, if you zoom in, 50% backing Shapiro, just 35% backing Mastriano, with the other 15% undecided. And then the Senate was even more lopsided, 33% backing Oz, 51% backing Fetterman, another 15% undecided. So this is terrible for the Republicans because, again, this is a Republican poll. Republicans should be winning in their own polls. If they wanted to, show confidence, they would not have released a poll where they're down 15 or 18%. Again, if they wanted, people are going to say, oh, well, they're going to fundraise off this by saying we're losing, we need money. If they're trying to fundraise, they'd release a close poll saying we're down by 2%, let's close the gap. Being down 18% in a state like Pennsylvania shows complete devoidness of hope and a complete lack of energy for Josh Shapiro, for Doug Mastriano and for Mehmet Oz. And you don't release a poll intentionally when you're down by this much this late in the election. If it were March or April, maybe. But as of right now, we have less than 3 months to go till the election, and they're showing their opponents past 50%. So even if they win all the undecideds, they still lose in their own Republican poll. This is the worst poll of the cycle for Pennsylvania Republicans, and they've had a lot of bad polls, as you can see here. Take a look at the Senate race. Right now, they haven't even updated it. It'll probably go up to even more. Fetterman up by 11% right now, and he's probably going to crack 50 once they add this poll, because he's at 51% in the poll. He might get closer to 50. And then in the governor's race, Josh Shapiro leading Doug Mastriano by 8.2%. Just awful polls for the GOP right now. They're not even within the margin of error. And if you go to the presidential election back in 2020, where people say, oh, well, the polls missed big in 2020, let's go to today in 2020. Biden was up 6.4%, he won by 1.2%. So at this point in time, the polls would have underestimated him by 5.2%. Yeah, that is not enough to give you a Republican victory in either the Senate race or the governor's race. And when they add in these polls, Shapiro will probably be up by 9 or 10. Fetterman probably will be up by 11 or 12. Just disastrous for the GOP. So let's talk about some polling errors in Pennsylvania. Now, my good friend Evan Scrimsh on Twitter, who you should go follow, by the way, tweeted out, okay, well, let's talk about the polling errors in Pennsylvania. So in 2014, the Republican Party outperformed their polls by 1.2%. So the polls were fairly accurate, but they tilted a little towards the Democrats. 2016, the Republicans outran their polls by 2.8%. So again, polls were okay within the margin of error, but again, Republicans were underestimated. Now in 2018, polls were pretty good once again, but the Republican Party at this time was not. It was the Democrats who were underestimated by 1.4%. Then in 2020, Republicans were underestimated by 3.5%. And again, in the presidential election, on election day, Biden was up by 4.7%. He won by 1.2%. If you go to Real Clear Politics, they actually got it dead on. Biden was up by 1.2%. He won by 1.2%. So RCP in Pennsylvania was pretty good in 2020. And 538 was also all right. Again, they underestimated Trump by 3.5%, but again, it wasn't terrible. They got the result right. And so you don't win an election when you're down 11 or 8% in the polls. It just doesn't work that way. I know there's probably one example of it you can bring up, maybe show one outlier. There's 1,000 other cases where you're down 8% and you lose the election. That's just how it works. You cannot keep saying, well, the polls are wrong, because you need to add up all these polling errors to even get close to where you need to be. You would need a polling error from Jupiter and back to win this race. You're not just down 11%. You're going to say, oh, well, we'll recover in a few weeks. No, you are down to the point where you need to recover as soon as possible, and you might not even be able to recover because your opponents are close to 50% or even at 50% in some cases. You need to recover desperately. Right now, John Fetterman is destroying Dr. Oz. And I say that because look at the data right here. He's up by 11%. I don't think he'll win by 11% in any universe, but you cannot be down 11% and expect to win an election. That's not how any of this works. And saying otherwise is just pure spin and pure bad faith arguments. So Pennsylvania right now, I know it was a state that Joe Biden only won, by 1.2%. But it seems like the Democrats are going to do very well here if these polls continue to come in, because look, 11% way outside the margin of error, 8% way outside the margin of error. The Republican Party has to do a lot of work really quickly, and they might be running out of time because right now Josh Shapiro has like 30 times more cash in hand than Doug Mastriano. John Fetterman's outraising Dr. Oz. I think he has 7 million more cash on hand as of right now. And the Republicans need to get more momentum, more advertisements, more ground game for them to make up this deficit in an increasingly small window of time. Right now, they don't seem to be doing that. So again, you can talk about this map all you want, but as of right now, the Democrats are on pace to outrun Joe Biden in Pennsylvania, which is not something I would have expected even weeks or months ago. Again, I was the guy who was saying Fetterman was always going to lose, but I can't deny the information. I can't deny what we're seeing right now. What we're seeing is a massive victory for John Fetterman. Dr. Oz just does not seem to be running a very good campaign. It just does not seem to have the momentum right now, and it's going to be hard for him to recover because I think he's not really a good candidate. I think his campaign's being run poorly, and it's just a sloppy race for the Republicans here. So with Mastriano looking pretty poor right now, with John Fetterman just beating Dr. Oz badly right now, the Pennsylvania Republicans are going to have to climb out of a hole really quickly, and it's going to be very hard for them to do it, and I don't know if they can. So as of right now, the Democrats are objectively favored in both these races. The polls are just too wide for the Republicans to overcome, no matter what polling area you can manage to put in there. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. I want to just take a few minutes to talk about these polls and just how bad it's getting for the Republicans in Pennsylvania. Because again, I was a never Fetterman guy. I really thought he was gonna come up short and kind of fall flat on his face and lose to Dr. Oz by a couple of points, but it looks like I was wrong. It looks like the opposite is happening. And again, when it changes, I'll let you know, but it hasn't changed, and I don't think it's going to change. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.